Game design requires the art of designing images, the application of aesthetics, and the mechanics of coding to create a game for entertainment or education. The game industry is growing in leaps and bounds, and the demand for developers and designers is growing in spaces that require safety training, manufacturing, and so much more. Their skills create the training simulations that save lives and minds, and train people to walk at height and develop fine motor skills. Today on 48 Hours, we look at the career of a game designer. 48 Hours, own your future. Danielle is a first-year game design student at Open Window. She's a competitive gamer who swapped her ballet shoes for a sketch pad and mouse to design games for the South African consumer. She loves spending time with her dogs and playing online games. She wants to learn everything that goes into the game design industry because it is her greatest passion.
I think the thing that made me want to study in game design was this idea of me being able to create games, being able to touch other people and make things that other people can experience. So I can make an experience in the game that other people can live through and they can see my perspective on certain things. I would like to see myself maybe working on a small project of my own to get my name out there, or even at a studio or company. I definitely see myself positioned in the South African market because we have so much unboxed potential. We don't really have a large game design industry because we don't realize what kind of market or target we have in our midst. Today and tomorrow is really important because I'm going to be busy showcasing what game design is, and I want to show that it's not something that you need to be an absolute genius for. Even if you watch tutorials online, it's something that anyone can do. 48 Hours has now arranged for me to meet with Stephan, and I'm excited to see what goes on in his day-to-day life.
Meet Stephan Calits, head of the film school at Open Window in Centurion. In addition, he lectures courses in animation and game design while also running his own business in gamification. Let's meet him in person.
So this is our studio, the game that we developed in-house. It was first started out as a proof of concept because it needed to run in an actual VR cylinder. But then we ported it to a proper VR device. Yeah. So you can just put that on. Is it comfortable?
Yes.
Can you see the controllers?
I can.
We're about to go into another world. Let me just do that. And
oh, I'm scared.
It's a go. You can start, you can hear them. Oh, headshot. That's not bad. 16 kills. Right. Cool. So, was it fun?
That was incredible. I loved that.
Amazing, eh? Okay, let me help you here.
Yes, please.
Okay. All right. So, you said there was something I can help you with.
Yes, please.
Coming up after the break, Danielle and Stephan chat more about game design. Before the break, we met Daniela, a student at Open Window who wants to become a game designer. Now she meets her mentor, Stephan Calits, who's going to tell her everything she needs to know about the career of a game designer.
What do you think of that?
That was amazing.
Yeah.
I absolutely loved VR. It like blew my mind.
Quite an experience.
I have a few questions for you.
Sure.
What got you into the game design world?
I actually had an interest in film and multimedia from an early stage, and then gradually went into game design, and I'm sort of dabbling in the indie market at the moment, you know, like working with smaller teams of developers, doing a little bit of art here and doing a little bit of development there. So it's a gradual process, but I really like the combination of creative and technical challenges, and I think that's what really excites me.
Those creative and technical challenges, are they obstacles that I can expect?
Depending on where you work, because some studios have very well worked out pipelines, so you'd only be working on a specific aspect of the game. But generally in South Africa, it's sort of you need to be a jack of all trades kind of thing. So you should be able to transition from being an artist to a technical artist to a developer. Being a game designer means that you constantly have to tend to your skill set. You have to be self-driven and motivated, and I think she has what it takes.
So Stephan, I know you're supposed to give me a task, but I need your help with one of my tasks, please.
Sure.
So it's one of my projects that I need some help with. So my project is going to be an exploration puzzle-based game where you, the player, move through a dungeon to escape and solve puzzles as you go through it. And then as you move through the map, you find these letters that give the player the tidbits, the little bits of the story that it takes place in. What I want to do is I want to have 3 buttons that, if pressed in a specific order, will then open the door that goes into the next part of the map.
Cool. It's like a combination code of sorts.
Yeah.
Okay. So you unravel the narrative as you play the game.
Yes, it's up to the player to try and piece together the narrative of the game.
Danny's game was quite interesting. I liked the fact that it's sort of void of any action or violence, and it's mainly driven through narrative decisions that you make. So it's a game made for explorers, and it's definitely an interesting take on the roguelike genre. To create a code that allows access only on certain conditions, you just have to string up the conditions one after the other, and then you can test each one whether they're true before moving on to the next. We'll create a series of variables for each condition based on whatever parameter needs to be true. You can just set that trigger. So if your character needs to pick up a key before it can enter a door, then the key is the parameter that needs to be true before that next thing happens. There's a common sort of misconception that playing games and making games are the same thing. They're entirely different industries. There's esports, which is professional gaming, and you pretty much play games for a living, and people make a living out of just playing games. So there's totally a viable output for people if they're interested. And if your parents tell you not to play games because there's no future in it, there actually is. The other part of it is game design, and that's sort of the behind the scenes of what happens in a game. You decide on the kind of things that the player would be doing within that game, and the systems within that game, and how they would find a reward or keep the player engaged in certain ways. There would be specific game design courses if you're interested in doing game design. Computer engineering or IT or something like that. If you could program in C#, then you could probably adopt the skills that you need to be a game programmer specifically. Besides Open Window, the other private or institutions offering game design would be WITS and Vega, and Open Window offering courses in game design. It's a 3-year course with the option of doing a 4th year as a postgraduate honours. There's also a 1-year certificate that touches on the aspects of game design. I don't know. It looks sound.
I don't know. I mean, it's a bit wonky, but it is doing what I wanted to do. I guess that's game design for you. Tweak it out as you go.
Yeah.
He helped me figure out the logic of the game, thinking about how we could put it into code and how the code should look for it to work out. We did hit an obstacle, but otherwise, after we cleaned it up a bit, threw some of the code away, then it did do what I wanted it to do. So yes, it did help me.
Dani should just keep on practicing what she does. I think she's motivated, and she should continue to go on this path. Continue to study, work hard, eat her vegetables, and she'll do fine.
Final thoughts on today. It was so packed with information that I'm still sitting here processing it, but it will definitely help me take some bigger decisions later on when I'm thinking about what career I want to do for the rest of my life.
Coming up after the break, Danielle is starstruck when she meets the developer and designer of Bootfighter, Louis Du Pisani. She pitches her game to him. Will she make a good impression? Stay tuned to find out. Welcome back. Before the break, Danielle got to learn the ins and outs of working as a game designer. Now we introduce her to Louis Du Pisani, owner and founder of Cali4ways. He's going to tell her what it's like to run your own business as a game designer. But first, let's hear what Danielle has to say about her first day on 48 Hours.
So yesterday I had an amazing day with 48 Hours. There was a lot of information. I had a lot to sleep on and a lot to think over. And so today I now have the awesome opportunity to meet with Louis, who is one of the creators of the game Bootfighter. So I'm super excited to meet with him. So, come with me.
48 Hours went behind the scenes to give Danielle the lowdown on who she's about to meet. Let's hope this helps her pitch.
For the sake of this exercise, there's only one of I, so we'll be playing the single-player experience of Bootfighter.
Square bracket. Sounds of birds chirping peacefully. Square bracket. Algebra. 4 ways. Hardest and tittest part of the whole of Johannesburg. Everyone knows. Hard Eddy. Hardest and tittest oak in all of 4 ways. Hard oak, hard oak.
So I became a game designer completely by accident. I was busy working my freelance career when I started developing games as a bit of a fun side hobby in order to satisfy the creative urge to do something that I guess best utilizes my actual passion and aptitude. And I was working on a game called Jenga back in the day, which slowly evolved into Bootfighter. And then enough people took note, segue, in order to take interest and basically start building a company around the idea. Cali4ways as a company is just a live support system for the game Bootfighter. When we were sitting having one of our many brainstorming feasts, we just thought at some point that we should name the collective something, and the word Cali4ways popped out within 3 seconds. It's a homage to an old video game called California Games. Well, the massive challenges with being an entrepreneur in this particular industry is that in this industry, even though it is quite evolved and grown up abroad, is that in South Africa it's still in its small infinitesimal form currently. So a lot of people don't yet realize that gamification and online streaming is a new way of content, and it's like we need to kind of adjust thinking that out of the linear and more in the demand side of pop culture, which I think gamification very well is represented abroad, but we still need to work on that a little bit.
So I'm here now at Cali Four Ways, and this is where Louis works. And I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna pitch my idea, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm super nervous, but I'm also very excited. So let's go. Hi, Louis.
Hello, you must be Danny.
Yes, that's me.
Oh, welcome to Cali Four Ways. This is Suba Siso.
Hi, I'm Danny. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
I am super excited to meet you, Louis.
Well, thanks. And it's really cool to have you around. What have you got to show for us today?
Well, I have this game idea. It is about you, the player, who has landed in a dungeon and must solve a series of puzzles to escape. And it is up to the player if they want to collect these letters that are scattered throughout the map, and thus piecing the lore together.
All right, you have something to show us today.
Yes, I do. So, Louis, I have a question. With my game idea, what could I do to get it out onto the market? What would be like my steps to doing so?
So there are two ways to go about it. You can either find a publisher, and in this case, a lot of publishers will be based abroad, or you could learn how to self-publish like we did with Putfighter. I think the point that we wanted to make with our particular title is that because our game is so hyper-localized, we figured that we should keep everything as local and in-house as we possibly could. Your game might be different though, because if you could get an international market appeal, it might be worthwhile looking into a publisher. Or if you want to, again, bet on yourself, you could absolutely go on a journey on figuring out how to publish it on the platforms of your choice. And since we've done that very recently, we can definitely help you out with that as well. Okay, let's have a look, see what you got. Danny is a very sprightly and enthusiastic individual. She came in very much a ball of bursting energy, and that is an energy that is very much needed in a game design space because there's a lot of hard, long hours in what you do. It is definitely a suffer for your art kind of environment, and I think that Danny definitely has what it takes to survive. Right, we have a key, and we have pots that are broken. So let us go back to the place which had a door.
And darkness because the game is incomplete.
Okay, so we are now living in a lock and key world, right?
Yes.
So I'm just going to walk into the darkness. I'm going to venture into a career in game design. All I see is blackness. there is no there. Oh no, I am cute pointy-eared elf. I will go back to my chartered accounting job and safe.
First impressions that I had of him was that he was really a nice guy and that he would like try and help me, a little baby game designer, just get into the game design world. So my first impressions of him were like very good. So
we're just going to have a complete blue sky spitball as to, what we've seen. I'm going to ask you where you want to go with this, and then, maybe give an insight or two. So have any thoughts?
Yes, so the first thing I would advise you is try to make it easier for the player to understand what he has to do, and the controls as the game starts. At least if you could tell the player what the controls are. Mm-hmm. For your first games, keep them simple. And then the quicker you take them out there and you get reference from out there, the quicker you grow, than trying to work on a big game that will take like 2-3 years.
Oh, no.
If you start with a small game, take it out there, get that feedback, the quicker you grow.
I'm not quite sure as to why I'm solving puzzles yet. I'm not quite sure what drives me as a player, and I know you're not there yet. So again, not a criticism, just something to keenly keep in front of mind when you start moving this from prototype into actual conceptual stage of the game. So maybe start thinking about that now, so you can start tailoring your experience around who's the good guy, who's the bad guy, what's the point of the game, is it going to be a subversive game where you are the bad guy? All of those things you just try and puzzle out first, because right now, mechanically speaking, you're in a good place, but I think you need to then just start jotting down, okay, this, like when the name of your game comes to you, you'll definitely then have a bit more insight as to what the actual content will be underneath that name.
I'm not there yet with the story-wise. I'm still trying to find my feet mechanic-wise and just making sure everything is not buggy. But then later on, if I go from prototype to beta build to alpha build with my little game here, then yes, I think, like what you said, I think I'll definitely take into consideration more of the story and just having a deeper narrative in there.
I think her game was cool. It's still in the early stages. I mean, Danny doesn't have a name for her game yet, so I think that's indicative of early days. But I'm glad that we got to have a talk earlier on so that we can possibly guide her along the way sooner. But I'm not saying that we are the ever-present wizard of gaming knowledge, but sometimes just having someone to talk to about your ideas can really push you far.
In the end, he did give me really important criticism and even some advice to help me evolve my game and also maybe put it out there into the market and the steps that I could take. So it really helped me, even though I was afraid of pitching it to him.
Danny, my message to you is have heart. This industry takes a lot of courage. There's a lot of unknowns going forward in the South African gaming space. I think that you have what it takes, just based on your enthusiasm alone, and the fact that your game is off to a good start definitely doesn't hurt.
We've come to the end of a jam-packed 48 hours, but we'd like to do something that makes life just a wee bit better for Daniela.
Danny, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you around. Just this day should just not end. It's been so magical and, transcendent. We would like to offer you officially an internship at California's Games if you're willing to accept.
Serious?
Serious, yeah.
Oh my gosh, yes, definitely.
Okay, cool.
Louis, I just want to thank you, from the bottom of my heart, for this experience. It was phenomenal. I loved it to bits. I loved meeting you and meeting your team and seeing you guys work. And I want to thank you for taking the time to listen to me pitch my first year idea and giving me criticism and just helping me work on my game designing skills and just starting me on the path of where hopefully I will be where you are now. These last 48 hours have been crazy. I met incredible people and I've just been inspired, and I think meeting these people and now sharing my experience, it's just so motivating, and these experiences have just been so amazing and insightful, and I loved every second of it.
If you want to be part of the 48-hour experience, contact us on our social media page. If you're interested in more careers, make sure to go to our YouTube page and get inspired.